Today I have both a pumpkin and a squash that needs cooked. The first thing to do is slice each one in half. Here we go. If I had shown you how I cut these, I would have had to put "kids don't try this at home" on here, but I do want you to try this at home, but very carefully with a very sharp knife. Just cut them in half, and then we're going to take a spoon and we're going to use it to scoop out the goop. This is a two-handed job though, so I have to put the phone down. All right, so now I have all the goop out and nice clean insides of my squash and pumpkin. I did have to use my knife to scrape out some of the stringy bits in the pumpkin because just too much of it was left. Now you notice that there is some still in there. That's okay. That's going to cook up and you're not even going to taste it when you eat the pumpkin. It's just that if you get too much, it does feel a little bit stringy. Now, you can roast the seeds for both squash and pumpkins just by cleaning them up in a colander, removing all that pulp, and then tossing them in a little olive oil and salt, any other flavorings that you like, putting them on a parchment sheet and baking them at about 350 for about 10 to 12 minutes. You really want to watch them closely though, because anytime you roast seeds or nuts, they go from just crispy enough to burnt in just a minute or so. So keep a close eye on them if you choose to do that. I am not choosing to do that because I'm doing some batch cooking today. It was a beautiful snowy day today. We had our first snowfall of the season and it actually stuck. So I can't do the stuff outside that I want to do. So today I am making several different recipes and I'll post later and show you what I actually made today. Right now I've just sprinkled some olive oil into these cavities and I'm just going to smear it around with my hand. Remember, we always wash our hands before we start cooking because we're going to get them all over our food. Okay. And just, it doesn't take a lot of olive oil. You're just wanting to coat this. And over here, I'm coating this and I'm going to pull it up on this nice fleshy part. And squash and pumpkins are both really cheap this time of year. In fact, sometimes right after Halloween, grocery stores and farm markets will just give away their extra pumpkins because they don't think anyone's going to really use them, since most pumpkins are actually used for decoration. But pumpkins are edible, so are all squashes, and they're delicious too. Now, I'm just sprinkling this with a little bit of sea salt. Okay, and we're almost ready to go in the oven. Okay, now I have sprinkled these with 3 of my favorite spices: nutmeg, cardamom, and cinnamon. I've already done 2 of them, adding the nutmeg now, and I'm just gonna rub this around just like you would a barbecue rub, just to make sure that it gets all over there, kind of blends with that olive oil. And then I'm going to put these into a 350-degree oven, and I'm going to bake them for about 35 minutes until they are fork tender. That means I can easily insert a fork. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to clean up a little bit in the kitchen, and I will be back to show you the finished product. And here we are with our baked pumpkin and our baked squash. And what we're going to do is just spoon it out of there, and eventually I will put it in a bowl and I will mix it up a little bit It won't be as smooth as mashed potatoes, but it will be very delicious. Let me show you how the pumpkin looks. Same way. And once that's all scooped out of the shell's discarded, and we stir it up, all of those herbs will combine and it will be absolutely delicious. I can either mix these together or I can serve them separately. By garden, so I've scraped the shells clean of the flesh that has been cooked. And here I have a mixture of squash and pumpkin. We'll eat it just like this. You could puree it a little bit or use an immersion blender to give it a smooth texture. Even add some heavy cream or milk to it to give it a thinner texture, more like mashed potatoes. You can also add butter, brown sugar, maple syrup, things like that to make it sweeter and richer. But we really just like the squash the way it is. Sometimes I just cook it with the oil and some salt, and we eat it like that. Today I got a little bit fancy and added the spices, but I assure you that squash and pumpkin are delicious, eaten just like this.